Hi guys, I'm Albie from the agency Mallorca, here with our fourth episode of the Mallorca Insider, where I sit down with Peter Frank from Franke De La Fuente, one of our legal partners based in Marbella and here in Mallorca. Peter, thanks for joining. This is our fourth episode now of the podcast. We started this really just to have open conversations with agents, other real estate professionals, and also key people in the industry. Lawyers being one of them. So that's where you come in handy. And I really wanted to get a little bit of the background of your story, starting in Marbella, coming down here, and how you've seen that kind of journey happen, and what was the thought process behind it. So starting from the beginning, obviously, Franke De La Fuente is the company that you co-founded. So just wanted to get a little bit of insight on how that came to be.
Okay, fantastic. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Beautiful studio here.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to join your podcast. It's a story, of course. I think every company has a story.
Yeah.
I think you would agree to that. And sometimes things just happens by chance, and it's not really planned.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of coincidences, stars being aligned, but at the same time, quite some, as well as some planning.
Yeah.
It's a combination of both. But first of all, I think that I can relate to many buyers nowadays, relocating buyers, because that we have both in the Balearics, but also in Marbella area, Costa del Sol, a lot of people moving to our areas, relocating with their families, with their businesses, etc. And I did the same 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So I can really relocate with my own clients. I understand what they're going through. And it was also by chance. We just wanted to have me and my family. We lived in the north of Sweden. I had a legal career in Sweden as a prosecutor, as a criminal defense lawyer, etc. Back there, I was a partner of a law firm. We wanted to have just a break in our lives. Mm-hmm. So we were looking for some place to spend 6 months, perhaps. And we started to search where they have Swedish schools.
Okay.
And that gave us a few options. A few of them we disregarded immediately, like London, Brussels. We wanted to have like many buyers.
You wanted to be in the sun.
In the sun. Yeah. So we found Marbella and no connection at all to that area whatsoever. It was just the climate and weather and the school and so on. So we decided to stay there for some time, with always the plan to move back again to Sweden.
Yep.
Now, 7 years later, I'm still here, and now we open an office in the Balearics. So that's 7 years happened a lot, right? We decided to stay. Quick story is that I started to work as an agent, as a property advisor myself.
Yeah.
In Marbella area for 2 years' time, more or less. And during that time, I met my now current partners, Mallorca De La Fuente and Julian. And we have our fourth partner, Francesca. I met that as a small little team when I was an agent myself. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, starting to work in the industry, I realized the importance of working closely with a lawyer. And so then I saw perhaps this could be my future, because I wanted to get back being a lawyer again. Mm-hmm. Even though I liked the job working as an agent, it was similar in that way that you're actually advising a client with an end goal.
Yeah.
So it's similar, I guess. And you have a lot of responsibilities. It's a big money involved many times, etc. But the meeting that I had with Miguel Angel, I think that was the deciding factor for the future. So we basically became friends, and then he became my lawyer as an agent. And
your go-to like feeder lawyer, that's the one you recommended to your clients who were buying it.
Well, yes. After some time, to be fair, I was recommended other lawyers in the beginning. I had certain expectations of a lawyer myself, being one. Maybe they didn't really meet those expectations, or I couldn't really find a lawyer that I could connect really well with. Mm-hmm. Because, as you know, when you're new in the market, you don't know anything about the legal, you don't know the process, nothing really. So I had to learn a lot.
Yeah.
And Miguel Angel was always there to help me and my client.
Yeah.
So we had a very good connection. And during, you remember lockdown, of course, during COVID.
Of course, yeah. Famous.
So almost like it didn't happen, It's like a movie or something. But it did actually happen. And it was then when I was locked in with my family that I intensified, the conversations with Miguel Angel. And we said, let's start something fresh, something new. We had a lot of time to talk about,
Of course, yeah.
the business. And we just set very, very, I would say, ambitious goals.
Yeah.
I like to make plans. So that's when the planning came in.
Yeah.
And
the structure behind it.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I can't really relax if I don't have a clear structure. So we set out on a journey to become one of the most influential law firms for foreign investments on a global scale. That's a very, very big,
huge ambition. Yeah,
big ambition.
Yeah,
but it gives us a purpose. Yeah, it gave us a clear purpose from the very beginning. So everything that we have done since then, it has been aligned with that end target. I don't know if we're going to reach it, but it gives us it defines us.
Path, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the long story behind that we're here now, it came from a coincidence. Finding Marbella was a coincidence. Meeting Miguel Angel was a coincidence.
A lockdown was a coincidence.
It was, yes, an unfortunate coincidence.
Yeah.
But good things happened actually during that time, and now we're here.
And after that time, the market just exploded. So also kind of,
it did, yeah.
A pretty pivotal moment, I think, for a lot of us.
Yeah, for many of us, and I mean, I remember those days we were based in the same small little office actually. Me and Miguel Angel, his brother, Francesca, and the market suddenly boomed. At the time, we were working a lot with the Swedish buyers.
Yeah.
And we were very busy.
Yeah.
At the end, how it is to start a business, not only with, of course, the business, but you need to set up an office, you need to have a web page, you need to have everything from scratch.
Plus some Spanish bureaucracy thrown in always for a bit of fun.
Luckily, I have Spanish lawyers as my partners, so it makes things easier.
Yeah.
But
maybe I should have thought of that as well. Get a Spanish partner just to really make things a bit easier.
Always use a Spanish partner as a partner for your business is a recommendation. I'm joking. No, and it's been a journey. It's very inspiring and it's fun. It's a difficult, challenging market many times. But I think that the fact that we actually had the time in the beginning to discuss what is it we actually want to achieve, what is it that we want to do, was crucial, because when things start rolling, you very rarely have the time to sit down for hours and just speak to your partners like we did.
Yeah.
We don't really have that time now, but we set up foundation in the beginning, which gives us a purpose. As I say.
And when you've got those solid foundations, then it just makes everything much easier to build, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, that has now built into what I believe is some culture within the law firm, and for us, we sort of know what Franke De La Fuente services should entail and how we want to work, and that's in the DNA of the company. And I don't think we could have really achieved that without being quite clear in the beginning. And I had the time, because I will never be better than my Spanish partners when it comes to Spanish civil law and Spanish legal material. So I had the time, and I still have the time, to focus on the structure, on the processes, on the bigger picture. So I set out to try to define the real estate process from a legal point of view. Many times the technicalities are the same within a purchase process. Doesn't make it easy.
No.
Many times it's quite challenging, and we're working with people, and we're working with risks, etc. So sometimes people, I think, believe it's quite an easy job, but it's not.
No.
But I could spend a lot of time at the beginning to sit down with a piece of pen and paper and say, all right, when does the client come in? Right. And when does he or she exit? When do we close the transaction? And how do we do this? Where are the milestones? How should we work in terms of structure? And how should we work in terms of communication?
Yeah.
Because that was one absolute single factor that everybody told me, and I had my own experience as an agent. What is the most important thing for a client and for an agent as well?
Yeah.
Communication. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we
top 3.
yeah, we had this chat when we first sat down together, which must have been maybe 6 months ago now, maybe
At least,
a bit longer. Yeah. We met through Life and Benji from our Marbella office, and you came obviously highly recommended. And I think this was at the time when your new Palma office was kind of, really gaining momentum, right? Yeah. And for us here, I've been in the industry now probably 13 and a half years, something like that. And we've worked with countless different lawyers, right? But we have the kind of solid, really 2 or 3 that we work with regularly, because communication is, it's like you said, it's one of the most vital components of a deal.
Yeah.
We've had situations where, client wants to buy, seller wants to sell, price is agreed, and then lawyers, the introduction to the lawyers happens, and then the whole thing just implodes, right? And as an agent, there is obviously nothing more frustrating. I can only imagine as a buyer or a seller how frustrating that could be. And as I say, we sat down and you said, what are the key kind of difficulties that you guys feel that you're encountering when you're dealing with lawyers? And it was always came down to communication, because it can be that, you're drafting an option contract, or you're waiting for the seller's lawyer, or depending who you're representing, the buyer's lawyer to come back, and there might not be any news. But to just touch base with a client, to your buyer or your seller, and say, listen, no news yet, but, we're working on it. We have we're waiting for some documentation, or we're waiting for the cedula, we're waiting for an energy certificate. Yeah. Just to say, we're in touch, we're waiting for this. It just puts everyone at ease, right? Because I think as soon as that offer is accepted and lawyers get kind of put in touch, then the tension slowly starts building every day. And every day you're kind of losing a bit of momentum in a deal, right? And that can be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. No, but we tried to define, so when we defined, it shouldn't be that hard to define who we are, because we are lawyers. We should have only one interest, and that's the best interest of the client. Yeah. So if you see it from that point of view, when we're representing the buyer, what is the goal of the buyer? Is to buy that property that they have made an offer for.
Correct.
And then they're working towards that end goal to buy that property. Now, so that is what we want to achieve for the client. So the best interest for the client is to make sure that everything, not only the technical parts, being gathering the documentation, reviewing them, drafting a contract, etc., but everything related to that transaction. Of course, we need to make sure that each single step you take is according to the interest of the client.
Yeah.
So communication is not a separate part of the job. It's very much the actual job.
Yeah.
So you can be a wonderful lawyer technically. The Spanish civil code in and out, all the local urban regulations on your 5 fingers. But if you're not able to communicate with your, as you say, with your client, but also the counterpart and everyone else involved, it can contribute to a situation which is a bit attention to a situation, and then unfortunate, events can follow.
Yeah.
So that is something, and we are constantly learning that, but at least we have a clear focus on that. And my partners are, I think that they're great when it comes to that aspect, because sometimes you find yourself, in a situation where, okay, this is something that we need to know. There is a challenge has appeared in the process for some reason, maybe. Can be the legal situation of the property that we weren't aware of before, etc.
Which happens.
Okay, that happens. So how do we now? First of all, we have to consider who is the client. How is the? Are they very sensitive, or how should we
how can you deliver that information to them in a way which is digestible?
Yes, and also to the brokers, of course, always involved. And as being I was an agent myself for 2 years, and before I met Miguel Angel, I also felt that I entrusted lawyers with my clients, and I didn't hear from them again. And I want to be informed, at least, because when the client, I feel a responsibility for my client. And I'm going to touch base with them, and if I don't have the information, that leaves me behind. No, that it's always been like that, and since I started 7 years ago, and I think it's always
never going to change.
It's never going to change. So that is the, of course, as a lawyer, you need to study, you need to learn, you need to be very much aware and updated on all the legal, matters, etc., and the regulations and so on. But you have to be a very good communicator in this business to be a good lawyer.
I agree. Yeah. But so company-wise, with Franke De La Fuente, what are your kind of, what are the main services that you're offering to the majority of your clients?
So we are a law firm, we are 100% focused on the foreign investments, meaning that, and it's international clients, 99% of our clients are international.
Yeah.
Usually it starts with them buying a property, but we help them with everything related to the relocation and the investment, I could say. That means that, of course, we take care of the conveyancing and the investment itself. We also do all the immigration regimes that are available to particularly non-European investors, right? We have a quite big tax department, 9 people there now. So we help investors individuals as well with tax advice related to their investments. Yeah. But nowadays, people are moving here. They're relocating. Yeah. Maybe they want to start a business or they want to restructure, their corporate structure somehow. So we do everything related to tax, everything related to immigration. We do also corporate when it comes to assisting those companies that are buying through us, and the conveyancing. So, and then let's say all kind of minor services that clients need when they're moving. We have a team of 3 now, day to day focused on the supplies, the NIE numbers, and everything, all those things that also matters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the relocation side, because I think that's probably of all the different trends that we're seeing in the market, what we're seeing is more people actually physically relocating here. And right now, mainly from, I would say, Northern European countries. I don't know if it's to do with political situations or whatever, but it seems to be that people are kind of making a more permanent move to Mallorca, but I guess also to Marbella, right? I think in general, Spain seems to be a very attractive place for them to move now. And even though they scrapped the golden visa, right? I think people seem to be looking into these, the Beckham law, non-lucrative visas, nomad visas. The kind of popularity of all these things has really shot up, at least from what
absolutely. Yeah, the relocation trend is really clear and obvious, and I don't think it's gonna disappear. It's gonna just gain momentum even more and strength. And actually, a few months ago, I think it didn't exist before that. But I call what we do, to your question before, it's relocation law, basically, and that's maybe a new category of law, all for everything that clients need when they're relocating to a new country. Basically, we're gonna help them with that. No, it's so clear, but and it matters in different ways. So first of all, a law firm should then adapt their services towards that new need that exists, right? Because it's not only buying the property like it was maybe 15 years ago, a vacational home, maybe 20, 25 years later, they're going to sell it.
Yeah. You don't hear from them in between.
No. They will need more, and they will need it continuously. So we need to adapt our services to what the clients need. But it's also different if they actually live here, because you develop completely new kind of relationship, with a client, if your client is based in the same city. So it changes a lot. And I think Spain is, of course, our areas of Palma and Costa del Sol also. We see it so clearly. But I hear about other areas as well in Spain, in Galicia. People are interested in that area. We see Madrid. So Spain is, of course, a popular country when it comes to relocation. Yeah. But there will be others, other countries as well. So coming back to our main bigger purpose, our market will be wherever people move, so to speak.
So you're always adapting.
Yeah. So we're in the future. We're looking at to see, that there's a market in Dubai, of course. There can be Cyprus or Portugal, etc. But so we have to follow that trend. I'm interested in that trend. And I think, I have kids. They are 17, soon 18, and 15. Yeah. When I was in their age, my my inspiring thoughts were, okay, where in Sweden should I move to? Could I move to? Now the whole world is sort of
completely
open up. So they have a completely new idea of where, what is possible for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to gain even more, strength and momentum, that trend. So we'll see. We're going to see people move around. They might, countries like Spain, there might be resistance, in terms of what, they're
from the locals, you mean?
Yeah, well, so I mean, there needs to be a balance, of course. So that I respect that, and I understand that there could be a challenge, between finding a respect for the local communities, but also the relocation trend is so strong. So it's going to be dynamic there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why many countries now abolish the golden visa as an example. Make it slightly more difficult. We have the rental regulations making it a little bit more difficult for to. So, but it's not going to stop.
No, again, I think the cat's out of the bag, as they would say on that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, potentially making it a little bit more difficult to just purchase and in terms of parking money, like buying to let, Airbnb licenses, that kind of thing. That I understand, but also for the local economy, with people moving, putting their kids in schools and moving their businesses, like you said, like these people have a big company in Germany, big company in Sweden, the UK, and so on, and now leaving and coming to, say, Mallorca, Marbella, Madrid, Barcelona, Costa Blanca, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
They're bringing a lot of their investment with them. So yeah, I think you have potentially on the local side, they have to kind of open their mind a little bit to say, right, okay, someone is coming to Palma or going to Bendinat, buying a house for 6, 7, 8 million, right? Which I think for a lot of the kind of locals as well is something that it's completely out of, the price point anyway, potentially maybe even sold to them by a local, but then they're coming here, they're investing in, they're shopping locally, they're going to the restaurants, which are all kind of locally owned, and they're bringing a lot of money into the economy. So I think that's probably something that's overlooked a little bit, and probably, again, a political football that's thrown around quite a lot.
No, I can agree to that. I think we're in a process of adaptation. We have to need to adapt to this new kind of lifestyle, relocating trend, because it happened so quickly after COVID.
Yeah,
it happened so quickly.
The world just
suddenly
opened.
People were working remotely. Let's move to Spain. Let's move to Portugal. Let's move somewhere. And then open up so quickly it happened.
Yeah.
And now with the technology, it also moves so quickly. So it's understandable that we have a little bit of a friction right now. But I think 20, 30 years from now, it will be hopefully it will be the normal, that people actually move around quite easily around the world, which is a nice thing in the end.
Yeah, of course.
That we not feel so protective and not isolate ourselves in our own countries, but it becomes maybe a positive thing as well,
Yeah, of course. No, I think, like you said, COVID maybe, and that openness to, working from home, working remote, not needing to, again, going back to kind of business people, our type of clients, they don't really need to sit in the boardroom. A lot of this is now done online. So then do I need to be in Berlin or Stockholm or London? I can be working out of Portugal, potentially paying less tax, or then you move to Spain, take a Beckham law for 5 years, and then it's not the end goal. After Spain, you'll go somewhere else. So there's that kind of movement of people, and again, money coming in and out of the economy, which is probably the important step. Yeah. So if you have a buyer coming in now to you, a client coming in who calls up Franke De La Fuente and says, "Hey, I've got a client. I am looking to buy a property in Mallorca." What would you say are like top 3 things that you would recommend, like off the bat?
Well, okay, let's say that they haven't done their research that well.
Yes.
But many clients nowadays do.
Yes.
We have something that's called ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Which can sometimes
my
be
best friend.
Yeah. Bad and worst friend.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit careful with that. But anyway, so I think that nowadays what I'm trying to say is that what we see a big difference now actually with our clients is that they have done their homework much more. Of course, I mean, they're working with a professional like yourself, they have a good understanding already most of the time of the maybe the legal process, and maybe even all the taxes, etc. But for any client, if they're starting from scratch, I mean, I would say let's start with a budget to set your budget. They need to be aware of the transaction costs in Spain, and the transaction costs, of course, they differ from region to region.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and have a proper understanding of that, and then that can, guide us then later in different directions, in terms of, all right, so maybe they will choose one or the other, if it's a new, maybe they will now decide to buy a resale property instead of a VAT new development property, etc. So I would say, first of all, start with your budget, which involves us explaining to them all the transaction costs, etc. Then I think it's good for them to understand the roles, the professional roles that we have here, me and you, in this market. So what is the responsibility of your agent? What is the responsibility of your lawyer, of the notary, etc.? How the actual process works. Because international clients, they're international, they are coming from other countries, and they have their own experience from that process back home, which can differ a lot, right? So it's important for them to understand the process. So when it comes to making an offer, they can expect, they know what to expect. And, well, finally, if I would say something as a third thing, I would say that when the time comes, most of our clients, and maybe you will agree to this, they have done their homework. They have been assisted by a broker for maybe several months, maybe even a year or more.
Yeah.
And then finally, they found the property, they make an offer. Give yourself time, just a few more hours extra of time to have all the terms, conditions, specifically, in place.
Yeah.
Don't rush, rush into it. Sit down, take your time with your broker and with us, and make sure that everything is properly included in the first contract.
Yeah, that's something also that you and I discussed when we first sat down, was the kind of necessity or the normal use of like a reservation contract, right? And funnily enough, this happened to us basically I would say at this point 3 or 4 weeks ago. We had a client coming from Switzerland, had been looking with us for a while, found the house, loved it, was on the market for about 3.9 or something like that. Got an offer accepted, ready to go. They were working with a local lawyer, but they also have a legal team in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Right? So it was middle of August. A lot of the lawyers here were on holiday. Communication was a nightmare. And finally, we proposed a reservation contract because the buyer wanted the house off the market, didn't want any more showings to happen. It was a busy time. There were a lot of viewings happening left and right. So they just wanted to get it off the market. And we had but it's very rare that a reservation contract comes into play, right? We go straight to the option contract, and then from there, a couple of weeks, 4, 6 weeks, whatever it may be, straight to the notary. But because the buyer wanted to, really look into, like you said, get prepared and figure out the structure in which he will buy. Is he buying himself? Is he going to use a Spanish SL or a company in Switzerland, however they may structure it? And that reservation came in key because we are now, I guess, how many weeks in are we? As I said, maybe 4 weeks or so. We still haven't signed the option, but they've paid a reservation. Now the Spanish lawyer has actually been kind of removed from the situation. They're using the same law firm from Switzerland's hub here in Parma. So now we're gaining that momentum again and going through the option process. But that a whole period of time, as I say, tensions are kind of rising because buyer wants to sign, seller wants to sign. What's going on? But
I think that thought process sometimes can become a little bit too rigid, meaning that if you free yourself from the idea of certain contracts, you know what I mean? Should we use a reservation contract, an arras contract, an option to buy contract, etc.? What is it that the buyers wants to achieve? What is it that seller wants to achieve? We want to make sure that we can buy this property. Speak in simple terms. We're only going to buy it if etc. These terms are and conditions are met and fulfilled, and the seller on his side, on her side, of course, I like to sell, but I don't want to withdraw the property from the market for a month, and then you can just pull out. So there needs to be you need to
It's a bit give and take.
yeah, it's a give and take, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you free yourself from the idea which contract should I use, and just try to solve that situation instead, and that is, I think, what lawyers are really for. And sometimes I think we are a little bit obsessed by the title of certain contracts. We should instead focus on what is it we want to do and how should we, in the best possible way, help our client. So a reservation contract can be one way forward. It can be an artist contract with certain conditions. It can be an option contract, etc. But don't overcomplicate things, and put the terms and conditions on a piece of paper that both parties can fully understand, and that creates a solution for them to move ahead with a transaction.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, and I know here in Palma you're not as accustomed to the reservation contract as we are on Costa del Sol.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the one is better than the other. I don't want to create some kind
a divide between the
lawyers. Anything is fine. I mean, it's just a contract in the end.
Yeah.
But at least if you're aware of it, it frees your mind a little bit, as you say. Well, what are we trying to achieve here? Okay, let's use a reservation contract. So, and that is, of course, we use it on Costa del Sol because it's a more simple kind of contract, and it commits the parties to the future transaction. And I mean, in business world, it's, if you compare it to a letter of intent, it's sort of similar to that. I have an intention to buy this property under certain if certain conditions and terms are met. So
and then there's obviously a financial kind of signal there as well, until everyone's a little bit more calm, and then you can have a bit of time maybe to let's do the arras, the option contract, and let's prepare it in the right structure that makes sense. Because as people are relocating, their home structures become just as important as their current structures, right? Because the tax setup is where I think everything is happening now. So that's why when you mentioned having this full-fledged tax department, I think that for a lot of clients,
that is crucial now. And we spoke a bit about this the other day in the office, because we wanted to understand, to gather some data from our business, and it's almost 50% of our clients now are asking us very specific tax-related questions. And of course, many of them are thinking about relocating, or they have some kind of business that they want to transfer to or start in Spain. So it's absolutely crucial, I think, to advise them correctly. And I think one point here about, if we're talking to potential buyers here and investors, we are not here to complicate things. We are here to help them, because the goal, as I said, they want to buy something. So we have to see it from their point of view. They're coming over here, maybe just for a few days, maybe a week, etc. They've found something. I really want to buy this, but I don't want to take unnecessary risks. How can we put that in a contract? How can we move on? Where do I put the money? Where is the money safe? And of course, it's always negotiation with the seller. And I think here, I can understand that here on the island, that maybe from the seller point of view, they are unaware of the reservation contract. They're not really accustomed to that. And lawyers usually will go straight to the arras, etc. But we shouldn't be too stubborn. I mean, what is the best for this situation? And let's use that option.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the kind of standard reservation contract situation, do you see any other kind of nuances, kind of in the market in Marbella compared to what you've seen here in Palma?
I think there's I think there's a reason for the reservation contracts to be so popular on Costa del Sol. I think that for the time I've been here and compared to Marbella, it's more intense, I think. Emotions runs a little bit higher, actually. So the urgency is higher, I think. That is my impression, at least. Meaning that it's really, we have to work quickly to get things in place. I'm not saying that it's not the case here as well, but I think it's even more, let's say, hectic in Marbella, and that's why the reservation contracts, we always use it.
Yeah.
Because in one same day, we have locked in the transaction, buyer and seller can relax, and we can move on.
Yeah.
I think that is one impression that I have, that we are here. We take it maybe a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Is that due to having multiple buyers on the same property, or what do you think creates that kind of tension?
Well, I know that you can have many times you have you're working. You have multiple listings as well. I mean, the seller could use more than one agency to list their property, and I think that's quite common.
Yeah, here as well.
Right? So there could always be another buyer around the corner for a property in Palma also, and you can have multiple offers, etc. But yes, I think maybe it's even more common to use exclusivity. It's not that common in Costa del Sol, maybe compared to here. And there are more viewings on each property, which create this kind of tension, and urgency. But it can also just be a cultural thing that has developed. Business culture has developed throughout the years. There are certain reasons. I don't really know why, to be honest. And that is what I usually say I mean, if you have been working really hard and done your whole homework, and you have been traveling maybe more than once, to buy a property, you will at least have a couple of hours. The final moment, you will have a couple of hours. So use that time to sit down properly with your property advisor, your broker, and your lawyer, and set out the terms and conditions. Find the best possible way forward. Doing it in the speed that is relevant, but not rush to things.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that's also nice. You have your office here in Palma. You're by San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Plaza San Francisco. You've got a nice space there where you can welcome people in and have a little bit more of a breathing moment, slow, have a nice conversation and lay things out as they should be. So I think that puts a lot of clients at ease, especially once they've been on a hectic tour of viewings and they've found something and tensions are high and their partner wants to take it now, and you need to have that moment just to kind of slow things down.
That's where the communication process starts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, lawyers are not special. I think in any kind of service, right? The first moment, the first interaction with your client is so important. Mm-hmm. So either that is on the phone or by video, but hopefully in person. If you could sit down in a relaxed way and discuss, and the client can ask all the questions that they have, then of course it provides them with a sense of security, and they know that they're in good hands, and it's easier for them to take that decision and move forward. And then they're flying back home, in Canada or in Sweden or in the Middle East somewhere, mm-hmm. and they're so far away from the process. So if you don't have that connection in the beginning, it could, make it much more difficult. Yeah. A good start is very important.
No, I agree. I mean, we have the same, also from our side. When you have the client here and they're out doing viewings, obviously that's their main focus. But as soon as they jump on that plane and go back, you almost have it's almost like the clock's ticking, right? Because they go back home, they fly back on a Sunday maybe, and back in the office on Monday, and then all of a sudden life comes back in. They start getting busy with their own things. So you almost want that process from the moment they have that last meeting. It's like, okay, we outline what the process is now going to look like over the next couple of days until we get everything, like you said, the reservation done, or we go straight to an arras, get all the documentation. And then when you send it over, you're kind of like, right, okay, let's, you want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, of course.
And that's always a funny moment.
Yeah, it could be potentially. I think, but also from a buyer's point of view, you're there, you're in the moment, you have the property in front of you, see it, you can envision your life, you can see everything.
It's emotional.
Clearly.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
And then, as you say, you fly back home. And if then things starts to be a little bit complicated, information that you didn't have before suddenly arises, some questions mm-hmm. about the property or the process. Oh, I wasn't informed about this. Yeah.
The
taxes. Oh, nobody told me about this tax, etc. Then of course you maybe you lost that kind of momentum or that more positive emotion. So yeah, I think it's important to have, if possible, we want to meet all our clients in person.
Yeah.
That's not always possible, but we like to with a personal connection is crucial for us.
Yeah, and this actually brings you back to another point from our kind of initial conversation, was in terms of the sales side, right? Because I think it also happens that a lot of people maybe have owned their house 10, 15, 20 years, right? And they themselves are actually not aware of the legal situation, right? Things have changed, planning's changed. Yeah. I bought it this way 20 years ago. And you kind of brought to, you brought to us and to our team that you're very keen on coming on board with sellers, right? Maybe even before their sales process starts, or they've just put it on the market and they don't really have a legal representation at this point for when they do sell. But for you and your team to come on board and, already start doing all the checks on the property, already start checking about the cedula, start checking about the energy certificate and so on, so that when the buyer comes along, they have everything. And I think that was actually a pretty key point to maybe what you guys are doing compared to some other lawyers that I do know and work with.
I mean, for me, it's an obvious perspective to have when you're representing a seller. And to me, I had this experience actually from being a real estate agent so many times that the only thing that the representative or the seller herself what was actually doing was just to send, hopefully, all the documents related to the property, but without actually reviewing them and reading them and to understand the legal situation of the property. And even if you have a very good buyer's agent and you're asking all the questions and you want to be really informed to give the right information to your client, it could be two things. Either the seller, as you said, thinks it's changed, he doesn't even know the legal situation of his property. Maybe he wasn't really informed either when he bought the property 25 years ago. The urban regulations, local regulations change, etc. He doesn't know what he's selling. Yeah. And it's a property of 5 million euros or more. So even though you as a buyer's agent, you have done your homework, you really try to do your best to gather all the information, and the client makes an offer based on the available information, and then the lawyers are introduced, and things suddenly, information that we weren't aware of suddenly arises, and we have to inform the buyer about this and that, etc. And of course, that's a negative surprise for any buyer. Yeah. And then communication comes in. Of course, you can always try to communicate that, inform in the best possible way, but it's not a perfect process.
No, the offer was placed based on X. Yeah.
So what should you do as a lawyer? Of course, your job is to gather all the necessary documentation of that property, to understand the legal situation of that property, to draft a report on that, to provide to your client, to the agents involved, so that any potential buyer knows what they're buying. And I know I'm not saying that it's a common thing, but I've seen, of course, the attitude from a seller's point of view that, no, but don't tell them. You shouldn't tell them this, But
like it's not going to come out. Yeah.
No, it's not going to come out. But that kind of secretive kind of attitude is not really working in real life, because first of all, you have a legal obligation to provide all relevant information about your property, and any decent lawyer on the buyer side will find out anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, we include that in our fee, because we don't charge extra for it, because we think it's so important, and it just simplifies the process so much that the correct information is available to the market before you even put it on the agency's website.
Yeah.
And sometimes we actually then can also rectify certain things with the property. Maybe we'll find out something that the seller didn't know, and we can recommend or advise them. Maybe you should actually apply for this this license, or should maybe try to pay off this debt that you weren't aware of, etc. before you put it on the market, if you like, or at least probably you need to be aware of that the broker will put their price accordingly.
Yeah.
No. I mean, we have to I mean, the clientele we have here on the island and in Marbella, There are buyers from the US, from Denmark, from Germany, from France, from all over. And in their home countries, it's usually a legal obligation for the seller
Super
to provide,
transparent, yeah.
super transparent. So let's do that here as well. Let's try to do that here and I think it's just better for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Peter, I think we're over for the day.
We are.
Yeah.
Nice
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your insights and obviously, you know, the help that you've done with our team here on the island, helping our clients, and long may it continue.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks.